choices we make can create symbiotic living on Earth. Green consciousness is a revolutionary shift in paradigm to heal our planet and our personal well-being in this generation. Be a part of the shift that is happening. And now, here's Catherine B.
Hi!
Hi! Yay! Welcome to Catherine B. and the Eco Revolution. I'm so happy to be here. First, before I even introduce myself and what I'm all about, is I want to say thank you, George. Blessings for holding space.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, man, you have created an incredible thing here with Soul Flow Radio, and thank you, Emily, for being amazing too. I think it's really impressive that we finally have a radio station where we can talk and we can get past just politics and sports and get into the things that really matter. So yeah, I am calling all foodies, all activists, all yogis, permaculturists, anyone that's sick of the bullshit, anyone that is a consumer. I am trying to turn all of you consumers out there into eco-activists, because we all have the power. And this revolution is more about shovels and forks and your dollar than guns and knives. It's a revolution that starts from within, and it's all about heart energy and doing our part and feeling our empowerment as individuals. And in the old school ways, we would revolt with a lot of stories and a lot of aggression and a lot of, screw the machine and all the systems are broken. And that might be true, but the thing is, we got to start at home and we got to do it for the kids and the next generation that's coming through. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm also going to be giving you incredible tips and just revolutionary things that you can do, but they're really simple tips that you can start immediately.
Good, because I need simple tips.
Yeah,
baby
something
steps.
easy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just like everyone else. I didn't start out doing all this. I mean, I made so many mistakes because there's so much that you're just not aware of.
You have a great story. It's inspirational because of that, because you can go from bad to not so bad to good.
Yeah.
It's never too late to start either, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm really set in my ways and everything. That's why I like the simple and easy. But we really need to start doing something. There's just so much bullshit and so much poison and so much crap. And now the Chinese chicken, I just posted that on Facebook. Did you see that? They're going to process it and send it back, and they're not going to let us know because of course they changed the labeling laws, so you're not going to be able to know where your meat is coming from.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're going to address so many of those issues over the, forever, really. But the most important issue, I think, right now is just getting reconnected to nature and to our food. And let me tell you what's going to be on the show. We're going to talk about food a lot, food for thought, food for the physical, food for the spiritual. And we're going to talk about eco-harmony and being in harmony, because that's all we really want. We all just really want to just flow. And as a yoga teacher, it's all about flow. And sometimes when you're just flowing, you don't want to get negative, or you don't want the reality of the world to step in. I think we all suffer from that. And the flow has to go with the disharmony. We have to be able to stay centered and do our job as environmentalists, even though it's not pretty out there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not. It's hostile.
Yeah. And it gets us really depressed. And a lot of us just don't even want to bother. And it's like, why should I bother when we've got these mega companies doing all this drama and all these horrible things to the environment? So again, the show's about empowering you as an individual. And I got into it because I teach yoga and I teach manifestation and I teach an 8-week course on, it's actually a diet. And it's about actually what you don't eat, and you lose weight from not food things, but environmental things, like removing plastic from your body, removing plastic from your food. And it's amazing how people, when they start reconnecting to nature, can just change physically. So when our well-being's great, Mother Earth is happy, we're happy. And on top of that, I'm a wellness consultant, and I also wanted to name the show something really simple about wellness and harmony, but the show is a call to action. And I guess at this point, we can talk more about me later, but let's introduce my co-host. She is my guru, and she's a little pissed off right now. So with all due respect, Mother Nature.
Some call me nature. Others call me Mother Nature. I've been here for over 4.5 billion years. 22,500 times longer than you. I don't really need people, but people need me. Yes, your future depends on me. When I thrive, you thrive. When I falter, you falter. Or worse. But I've been here for eons. I have fed species greater than you, and I have starved species greater than you. My oceans, my soil, my flowing streams, my forests, they all can take you or leave you. How you choose to live each day, whether you regard or disregard me, doesn't really matter to me. One way or the other. Your actions will determine your fate, not mine. I am nature. I will go on. I am prepared to evolve. Are you?
Yeah, so welcome Mother Nature, right? I think I never sound doom and gloom, but the truth is she doesn't need us. In fact...
No, we need her.
Yes.
But that's the whole thing. It's we're messing up the Earth's ability to sustain us, not itself. It's going to be here after we're gone if we don't, change.
Yeah, and we'll adapt, but do we really want to adapt to a world that is just without other life, without green life, without...
Well, if I can mutate into some sort of a cockroach monster with a sideways mouth, then yeah, I'm all for it. But,
well,
otherwise, no.
Yeah,
That's
and I
fun
guess
stuff.
the biggest thing is that this work that's happened, this eco-destruction, it's been only the last 60 years that we've really managed to mess it up so badly. We went for 10,000 years growing
Sure.
food and being connected to Earth, and then somewhere when we began to build artificial environments, and
Sure.
I'm all for the air conditioning, and I'm all for living in Florida with ice cubes and fans, but our technology just got a little out of control.
Well, you can use the technology the right way. Knowledge is good, but you have greedy people that are going to apply that technology towards enriching themselves, without regard for the environment or other people or permanency. And so that's what we're at. The Industrial Revolution. I don't know if you watched it's on Netflix, The Men Who Built America or something like that, where you can see these things didn't exist before. These big factories, these steel mills,
Right.
mass production, and all of that stuff. That's where things started to go in another direction with the pollution. It's just a huge scale industry, and of course they were getting rich, and they didn't know, and if they knew, they probably wouldn't care much what the effect of burning all that coal was, and they're just dumping, and then they had no environmental regulations for it, an industry that was brand new. So we need to stop, and we need to correct that now.
And it's funny because we look back at that and think, oh, we'd never do that again, but it's exactly what we did with the plastic industry after World War II. We just started introducing thousands of different plastics that we still don't even know what they're doing to our system. And
plankton are eating it now. Did you see that? Did you post that?
Yeah.
Somebody posted that. I got a lot of groovy people
we're
on my
all
Facebook.
eating it now. I mean,
But
unborn babies.
so the plankton eating, that's the beginning of the food chain. The plankton eats the plastic, and then it's in us. It's part of us.
Well, and again, we're going to get really into the ocean for next week. But right now, this week, let's go back to why I started all this.
I want to know. I mean, I know
I
you
wanna
told me.
hear
I think
your
it's a great story.
Yeah, you want
Emily
to hear a
hasn't
little
heard
bit
it.
more? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I got into this because I was just disillusioned with working in Los Angeles, seeing a huge hotel in Hollywood. It was the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, and it's a big, big rock and roll hotel with lots of bars and lots of restaurants. And I realized that we weren't recycling, and then we put together this entire recycling program for the hotel and spent so much time getting it organized and together. And then once we got it together, we found out that a lot of the recycling wasn't even really recycling. And so as a consumer, as a woman, as a person that gets pissed off all the time when you find out this knowledge, I was just like, screw this.
What does that mean? Not really recycling? How did?
Yeah.
Well, like
Because
even,
now I'm worried.
yeah. Oh
What?
my God. Most of our recycling. See, and this is why it's revolutionary. Like everyone on the show might think, "Wow, she's going to talk about recycling," and that. No, I'm not talking about recycling because we got to go beyond recycling. We got to go to just not buying and
Yeah.
not having things to recycle. But yeah, most of our things, for example, like plastic water bottles, my big nemesis. They go into landfills in the poorest countries in the world, Haiti and India, and then they use humans that have to go through these horrible mountains of plastic, and most of it doesn't even go into another plastic. It might be used as a low level, but most of it is just landfill, and it never goes away. So back in LA when we found out, like after all our work, that this was happening, I got more and more aware of my ability to simply stop buying, and that's why we have all of these recycled glasses. I no longer shop. I haven't bought clothing for 4 years. Well, I buy my lingerie.
I think we shop at the same thrift.
Yeah, and I even have this broken shoe because I don't.
No, there it is.
There you go, the
There's
broken shoe.
living proof. She walks the walk.
Yeah, literally, she walks the walk.
I know all you people that knew me in my New York years are just probably going, "Wow, I can't believe that you're wearing those shoes." But the truth is, shopping and buying and consumerism is a huge thing that happens in America, and we are conformed into it from the second we're born, and especially as women, right?
Oh, yeah,
we don't want to
definitely.
look non-trendy. We're not wearing fanny packs. Why?
And make your fanny look wrong.
Because it's not in the style, at least for right now.
But that is a typical example of how consumerism begins and how we just get caught up in the trends. So one of the things that I've learned now is that I've made a huge difference. And in my garbage cans, I'm always so proud when they go out like once every 2 weeks. There's really not much in them, and everything goes back into the earth, or everything goes for my chickens. I'm an urban homesteader.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I don't waste anything. And if it's stinky and smelly and filled with microbes, all the better. But it takes a while to get used to, The other thing is to just make your own food. And part of what I do is teach gardening, and that's why food is going to be such a big part of the show.
Yay.
Yeah.
I love food.
Yeah, so who doesn't? Yeah, but the thing is, we, again, as a trendy culture, have realized that cooking is sometimes a pain in the ass. It's just slow cooking, and we're not our grandmas, right? We're not from that generation. So we have so much available to us in America. In fact, too much. Everywhere you look, there is something to buy or something to eat. And when you start realizing that 99% of temptation is seeing it, well, that's how we get in trouble. I'll find myself at places and go, how did I get here?
Yeah, like, why am I here?
I invented this diet during a time of financial crisis. I call it the incidental food diet. I'm not going to buy any food because it's everywhere you go. Somebody's offering you, hey, how about this? Would you like some? You visit a friend. Every social occasion involves food or something. I gained weight on the incidental food diet. Just, I had to go back to buying my food and managing my menu and eating before I went to a social function in order to get back into like shape, because the incidental food diet is a lot of, hey, there's somebody has a donut, hey, you want the leftover pizza before I throw it away? And it's all this unhealthy stuff that you encounter everywhere. Even going out to eat, and this is horrible because I was a underprivileged child, let's say. So I hate to see food go to waste. So if we're eating out, I'm going to finish everybody's plate because unless it's something yucky like broccoli, but I'll finish the food. And so you're right, it's everywhere. So garden grazing, I can't wait to learn all this stuff from you. And you grow food indoors too?
Everywhere. Sustainable containables. We grow food. At the Standard, we're going to be teaching a class in October on these containers that anyone can use, and they're self-watering so that you can even travel.
I built a terrarium once.
Yeah. But see, the thing is, we don't want gardening to be too easy, because when we begin to not see food as something we have to nurture, but something that we just use, we tend to treat it like an object. Like, for example, those plants. We just think it's Mother Nature, and green consciousness is simply an object, a decoration, or something to be ate.
So you mean like more like intention, like have more intention in your food, not just like, oh, well, I know that this is going to help me with ABC, but just really like not, I don't want to say like praying to it or whatever, but just...
It's not a bad idea.
Well, yeah, I heard that's good too. Classical music, plants, really good.
Well, let me ask you a question. Like, when you look at an onion and you're about to chop it up, or when you're at a Whole Paychecks and you're buying an onion, what do you think about it when you see it? Do you see it as food, or do you see it as a plant?
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, it's true.
No, but I mean, you see it as food.
I see it as food, right?
Yeah,
I don't see it as a plant.
That's a live plant with its head out of the soil. It's like us being underwater too long. That little onion, if you cut its sides off and you put his little roots back into the soil, you're going to get another onion. So you've got to start seeing them as living beings. And I started a movement, and don't laugh, but I started a movement called the Global Gardeitarian. Let me actually read my own thing here. The Global Gardeitarian Respect for Green Life movement is a movement that respects and honors the consciousness of green life, because even though that consciousness is different than ours, it is no less involved. In fact, the new science, which I call sacred science, is all about the fact that Mother Nature, back to the video, and green life has a consciousness that blows us away spiritually. These plants know. There's documentation that plants can feel our energy, and they know what we're doing. And this is actually old news, but at the point now where I'm a little bit of a skeptic, I was like, well, okay, I get it, maybe. But in my own garden and when I teach, I know the plants can feel me and I can feel them. And this is why I don't want you to laugh. But they really do respond to love and good music and laughter, and they get fearful.
I've seen those studies. They definitely respond to music.
I've seen that.
They have a nervous system.
Yeah.
If you cut
they know
a
their
leaf
children.
or a branch on one side of the plant, it registers on the other side. There's definitely a lot of evolution going on there.
Now, I don't want to lose you people who are like, it's just an onion, Catherine, and I want to eat it. Okay, so please hang with me here for a second. So exactly. But what I'm talking about when we're gardening and when we're seeing these onions as living being is that we can keep them alive and eat their byproducts. We eat their roots, we eat their leaves, we eat their seeds, their nuts, their parts, their petals, their flowers, but we don't necessarily have to kill the plant, chopping it off like in commercial growing. We can grow these plants, they can live out their entire life, then they reproduce, and then they die, and they go back into the soil, and that gives us a healthy earth. And when we get a healthy rhizome, when we get a healthy soil built up again, and then we cover that up with mulch and more debris, we can save the planet from overheating. If the whole world would just cover up the planet 6 inches, it would be amazing. I'm not going to say it's going to stop, climate change. But
somebody posted a picture like the rooftops in Switzerland and the rooftops in America. They have either solar panels or vegetation on their roofs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like like there's a whole community, and it's wasted space. We could be, everything. Plants on the roof. It cools us here in Florida. It'll make your place cooler. How we don't have plants on top of all our roofs down here in a hot place.
Everything should be fruitful.
Yeah.
Sure. And when we start seeing it like that, and when I teach green consciousness, I have the world, and my students go out. I have my students go out into the world and look for nature, and we look for the plants, we look for the birds, we look for the tree, and you begin to manifest paradise. You begin to manifest nature again when you're aware of it. But mostly we always look for the buildings or the people or the car or the things that are man-made. And when we get back into Mother Earth and Mother Nature and start loving her and seeing her everywhere, we bring ourselves back into this rhythm. And we all do it on a vacation. We all do it when we are just having some chill time or going to a park, but we have to do it all the time. And I'm not knocking America. This is not going to get political, because I know you love to get political, George.
It's showbiz.
And I'm not going to get on any subjects, but I am going to mention the Pope just once.
We like that guy. We talked about him.
Oh, my God.
I never thought I'd be saying that about a pope, because I'm not as political as I am philosophical, and I have I have some scar tissue from my experiences with religion, and I'm not a fan of the Catholic Church. But this guy is great.
We have a couple spiritual leaders alive, the Dalai Lama and this Pope, and his message was pointed to us, America. We are a country that has all of the wealth and all of the convenience, but at the sake of who and what, and from the earth to the poorest countries. Yay!
She's here.
Listen to his message. Guys, thank you for this. Is Val. Yay! I got to give her a hug.
Yes.
Hi.
Oh, my God.
How's it going so far?
It's going great. You need some bee water. Everyone, Val Silidker, I'm so grateful for you to be here. We were just talking about Mother Nature, and I honestly don't know very many people that have done as much for as long as you have. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Have a drink.
Awesome.
Okay,
right.
Thank you, George.
Me too. Can share. Oh, this is that yummy bee water.
Yeah.
this
This is my longevity drink special. So you just have to stir it, because all the good stuff is always in the bottom. And George has been really cool. There's no plastic bottles this time.
Yeah.
So Val, let me catch you up. We just showed an incredible video with my co-host, Mother Nature. Not video, but audio. I think we're going to put the video in for all you YouTubers later on. But we were talking about how we all need nature back in our lives, and how we, as a really rich country and individuals, how we can make a difference, but that we're all consumers, and we're all people who have kind of been conformed into not putting nature and Mother Earth first, because we have to do our jobs and pay our bills and drive our cars and get stuck in traffic. And, we need to change that. So there's some really wonderful things that we're going to leave everyone tonight. And I think you have some great visualizations for us. And can I read a little bit about who you are for those of you that don't know you?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. So, Val is a deep ecologist and the founder of Inspired Life Workshops and co-founder of Expand the Love and the Zen Cruise, which is where I really fell in love with this woman. As a transformational catalyst and speaker, she has been building community and empowering individuals and groups, both nationally and internationally, for over 15 years. Val produces, directs, and facilitates transformational workshops and events where participants can explore their interconnectedness with life and work intimately with individuals. She works intimately with individuals to inspire them to ask deeper questions and discover their superpowers, just like we were talking before, like, when we really get past what we think going green means, getting in even deeper. Val has had the honor of presenting alongside such visionaries, and with these people, I want you to come back, and I would love to talk about each individual one. But these visionaries are Don Miguel Ruiz, Vandana Shiva, Dr. Gabriel Cousins, Starhawk, and the poet Drew Dellinger, and more. And over the past decade, she has had a powerful community, and literally there are thousands of individuals from all over South Florida and now beyond who have come together to celebrate life and create a more sustainable world from the inside out. So it's pretty amazing work that you're doing. She has 3 websites, not just one, but inspiredlifeworkshops.org, expandthelove.com, and thezencruise.com. So I'm just going to say a little bit more, and then I'd like to ask you why you chose to do this work. But my incredible experience with Val happened on the Zen Cruise, and I was walking into her workshop on sacred activism. And I had heard about her, but I had never really heard anyone nail it. Like, literally, I couldn't. Have you ever heard a conversation where you just, it touches your heart? You get so completely, like, that's it. That's the missing key. And that's what Valerie teaches. And it's this incredible ability to know that it's internal. Because I think we all look at the environment as an external thing. Mm-hmm. And you changed my life with that speech. And that's why I chased you all over the cruise. I'm like, Val, we have to work together. And she's so busy on this cruise. It's crazy. She runs the whole thing. But, that's why I'm so honored and why I wanted to start my show. So
Thank you.
Tell us more.
It's such an honor to be here and to celebrate who we are and how we connect with life. And it's been such a journey for me. I think when I was very young, I felt something, some calling, some connection that I really didn't have the words for at that point in my life. Like a lot of us, I was brought up going to circuses with very loving parents, but not really conscious of that connection. Didn't go camping and didn't necessarily spend a lot of time like playing outside, although I did. It was much more than nowadays. But it wasn't until my early 20s where something happened. And I had this moment, this aha moment. And it actually began, 2 things actually. One, it began with recognizing what happens with other animals. And we're talking about animal agriculture, quote unquote, and how we utilize them for food and the heinous things that happen, the abuse that goes on. So it got me going in animal rights. So I was like, wait a minute, there's other beings on this planet, and I've taken it for granted this whole time. And the first time I watched like a slaughterhouse video, it really
I still can't watch that.
It's so intense, right?
Yeah.
And then my head started going, oh yes, but there's this food pyramid, and there's this, and there's that, and there's this hierarchy, and there's all the things that have been sort of slammed down my throat, which we've been exposed to throughout our whole lives. But it didn't feel right. Didn't feel right. Once I saw that, something I had never really thought about, something that society has taught me not to think about. We're so far removed from it. I mean, we don't even call it what it is. We don't eat cow burgers.
Right. Right.
We don't eat pig. We eat bacon.
We don't eat our pets.
Right.
And
we
we're
call
taught
it something
we can
different.
love one, and then the other we're separated from.
Absolutely.
And what does that teach our kids?
And it's such a disconnect.
Right.
And that's what hit me. There is such a disconnect.
Yeah.
And so that's what got me going. And then I happened to be at that time dating this amazing man who was all about camping and hiking. And I was like, yeah, like I'd always wanted to do it, but I didn't know how. I didn't know how to get started, really, So he took me.
Emily just had her first experience.
Oh, yes.
No CMs right here.
Got it.
We see them.
We see 'em. It's so worth it.
Yeah.
But that was it. We went up to Savage Gorge up like northern Georgia, around that area, and we did his 3-day backcountry, amazing experience. And it just woke up every cell in my body. Like, it was so exciting. And all of a sudden, the language came. The words came. I'm like, this is what's been inside of me this whole time.
Yeah,
this
I felt
connection to
that.
life, and recognizing not just other animals, but Earth herself. And how we connect to everything that is, and how that's this larger picture of what we need to step into to reclaim life as sacred, Earth as sacred, every living being as sacred, and to make choices from that understanding. And so that was in my early 20s. Now, fast forward a bit of time.
A couple of years.
Almost 2 decades. And my life has unfolded in so many ways since then. I've worked as a naturalist in Big Cypress and taught environmental education at FIU. I've taken groups of people out into the Everglades and done immersive, Sacred Earth immersive experiences into the backcountry. A lot of beautiful things since then. And it's just been unfolding and unfolding and unfolding. And as it does, that voice, the voice of the earth, gets louder and louder, and just there's this trust, there's this faith, there's this knowing, there's so much that has come with that.
Let me just
over the years.
interject. Val asked me to also write for Voice of Earth, which is a Facebook page. And if you guys would like to get involved, she's a beautiful writer. And we have some really incredible posts, because what I think you and I are experiencing, and I think a lot of people are experiencing, is there's this thing happening, and we are connecting to Earth and kind of channeling what she needs. We know she's crying. We know things are not normal right now. So, you got your calling early. I got mine a little late. So I think I was in New York drinking cocktails.
As long as you get it.
Yeah.
And that you say that the earth crying, and the Zen Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh was once asked, what do we most need to do to save the world? And he said, what we most need to do is to hear within us the sound of the earth crying. And it's that call, and it's within us. It is within us. It is us. When we think about the evolutionary journey, from the Big Bang and the mystery that gave birth to everything that is, and this, billions and billions of years of unfolding, the evolution of everything, it has created, in evolution, we created this human, this inner evolution, this conscious evolution. So it's as if, we are the universe becoming aware of itself through our human form. Yeah. So we literally are the voice of the earth. We're the voice of mystery. We're the voice of universe, this voice through us.
I think the problem with most people, because again, we're yogis here and massage therapists and people who are not in a 9-to-5 traditional style, I think when they hear us talk about being the voice of Earth, there's sometimes a skepticalness of like, well, why am I not hearing it? Or why am I not feeling connected? And I think this voice happens when we get out of our jobs and back into nature, and we are actually touching or sitting on lawns or being with nature. Because if we're always under fluorescent or in this artificial air conditioning or, creating our own timetables at night, we don't hear the voice. We don't hear this message. Do you agree with that, or do you feel?
Our world is moving so fast, and we're so overstimulated, and everything's
desensitized,
blinky lights and noise, and we get to this point where it's hard for us to even stop and slow down and be. Even in meditation is challenging. We're like antsy. We want to do something. We feel like we always have to be doing, and that if we just stand still, we're not productive.
Right.
But really, like, one of the most productive things we can do for ourselves in this world is to stop, is to take a breath, is to slow down and recognize that in that space is where we get our true inspiration, where we feel the depth of our connection to life. That's where we hear that voice.
So what can you recommend to these people who are overworked, underpaid, have 6 kids, and they can't really afford to slow down very much? What do you recommend with all your experience to help them reconnect to Mother Nature and reconnect to that bigger picture?
I think it just begins with carving out some time. And, we choose how to spend our time. Even if we're workaholics, we can still find some time.
We have to spend enough time on Facebook,
It's
right?
true, right? So we have to prioritize where we want to spend that time.
Okay.
And go to a park, a local park. It doesn't have to be, a national park where you're away and it takes an hour to get there and it's a whole day thing, although that is ideal.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that, just go to a park. Go somewhere where there's no one else. Take some time to be alone and just breathe and just listen. Listen to the wind. Watch the birds.
Yeah.
Watch the ants crawl. Look at the soil. Take your shoes off and feel the earth. Earth yourself. Feel your roots. And just start there. Just connect and see how that feels.
One of my students, that's what she did. She took her whole family, and she had come to my house, and there was no chairs, and you have to sit on the lawn at my parties. And she was really uncomfortable because she was dressed really nice. She called me the next day, and she said, "Do you know what I did? I made the whole family sit on the grass, and we had so much more fun." And I'm like, yeah, when do people do that? We got the plastic lawn chair, and we're not really then directly connecting. So that's great advice. I bring plants with me everywhere again. Like if I'm inside and I'm upset about technology or something's not working, like on my blog right now, I look at the plant, I breathe it, and I know it knows my energy. So it's like...
Is that rosemary?
Yes, it is. Go ahead, breathe it in, George. I'm proud of you. You knew.
It's food.
Thank you, Mother Nature.
We were talking about if you see an onion, is it a plant or a food? And they have to see it now as plants.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm
You
getting
are.
there.
Look, it's baby steps. And again, when we do connect with nature, we can connect all the dots. We start to save money. What Val does is social permaculture. I do physical permaculture in the soil, but permaculture is for people who don't know what that word means. It's about leaving the smallest fossil footprint on Earth, and I always say the smallest footprint on my back. Like I have to think several steps into what I'm doing before I make the move. And the Native American Indians used to do like 7 generations. Well, I think like maybe, 3 hours. Like if I do this now, what happens later? And the reason that a lot of eco-harmony and voice of earth works happens is because we take the steps to slow down and see that every action causes a reaction. And then once we start slowing down, we can actually save money, we can be more efficient at work, and it's social permaculture applies to everything that you do. So when you think of gardening, I always like to tell people, garden your soul, garden your mind. What steps are you going to make now that is going to give you fruit in inspiration in a month or in an hour, So can I ask you a question? Speaking of this, is what exactly is the Great Turning? Because this, I think, is that feeling we're feeling right now, right?
Absolutely. So the Great Turning is a term that was coined by a man, an author named David Corton. And he wrote a book called The Great Turning, and it's being used by many people in this movement right now. And in a nutshell, it's changing a story. It's this move from an industrial growth society that believes in more, better, faster now, right? Perfect. We're separate from the earth. We can exploit her however we want because it's human domination. It's here for us. Earth becomes a receptacle and a sewer, and we believe that there's some place called away. We throw something away, and all of a sudden it's not our responsibility. All these things.
That's my next post tonight.
Right?
Awesome. Where is away?
Exactly, and we have to question those things. So we're living in this industrial growth society right now, and it's intense, and we're literally committing suicide, in this consumer society, all of this. The Great Turning is this point right now, this critical moment in the history of the human species. That's an invitation to make a different choice toward a life-sustaining society, one that honors our relationship, our interconnection with everything that is, and invites us to make more powerful choices that create sustainability for now and for our future generations. I always like to bring up the fact that if we go, our great-great-great-great-grandchildren, if we go into the future and we think about them looking back at us today, we are their ancestors. Right. And we really have to think about that in a sense of deep time. Yeah. We're too focused in this moment now, but there's a much larger thing at play here. We're just here for a second. Right. So what legacy are we as the ancestors leaving to our future ones, our future generations? Yeah. And what will they look back on and say?
This is perfect segue, and I don't even think you realize it, but why don't we take a musical break right now and come back and address this question? Because there is a lot of disconnect, and we need to unify. I think that's the voice of Earth speaking through you, Val.
Dear future generations, I think I speak for the rest of us when I say, sorry. Sorry we left you with our mess of a planet. Sorry that we were too caught up in our own doings to do something. Sorry we listened to people who made excuses to do nothing. I hope you forgive us. We just didn't realize how special the earth was. Like a marriage gone wrong, we didn't know what we had until it was gone. For example, I'm guessing you probably know it as the Amazon desert, right? Well, believe it or not, it was once called the Amazon rainforest, and there were billions of trees there, all of them gorgeous, and... Oh, you don't know much about trees, do you? Well, let me tell you, trees are amazing. I mean, we literally breathe the air they are creating. They clean up our pollution, our carbon. They store and purify water, give us medicine that cures our diseases, food that feeds us, which is why I'm so sorry to tell you that we burn them down. Cut them down with brutal machines, horrific, at a rate of 40 football fields every minute. That's 50% of all the trees in the world gone in the last 100 years. Why? For this. And that wouldn't make me so sad if it weren't so many pictures of leaves on it. When I was a child, I read how the Native Americans had such consideration for the planet that they felt responsible for how they left the land for the next 7 generations. Which brings me great sorrow, because most of us today don't even care about tomorrow. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we put profit above people, greed above need, the rule of gold above the golden rule. I'm sorry we use nature as a credit card with no spending limit, overdrafting animals to extinction, stealing your chance to ever see their uniqueness or become friends with them. Sorry we poison the ocean so much that you can't even swim in them. But most of all, I'm sorry about our mindset, 'cause we had the nerve to call this destruction progress. Hey Fox News, if you don't think climate change is a threat, I dare you to interview the thousands of homeless people in Bangladesh. See, while you were in your penthouse nestled, their homes were literally washed away beneath their feet due to rising sea levels. And Sarah Palin, you said that you love the smell of fossil fuels. Well, I urge you to talk to the kids of Beijing who are forced to wear pollution masks just to go to school. See, you can ignore this, but the thing about truth is, it can be denied, not avoided. So I'm sorry, future generations. I'm sorry that our footprint became a sinkhole and not a garden. I'm sorry that we paid so much attention to ISIS and very little to how fast the ice is melting in the Arctic. I'm sorry we doomed you, and I'm sorry we couldn't find another planet in time to move to. You know what? Cut the beat. I'm not sorry. This future, I do not accept it, because an error does not become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We can redirect this. How? Let me suggest that if a farmer sees a tree that is unhealthy, they don't look at the branches to diagnose it, they look at the root. So like that farmer, we must look at the root and not to the branches of government, not to the politicians run by corporations. We are the root, we are the foundation. This generation, it is up to us to take care of this planet. It is our only home. We must globally warm our hearts and change the climate of our souls and realize that we are not apart from nature, we are a part of nature. And to betray nature is to betray us. To save nature is to save us. Because whatever you're fighting for, racism or poverty, feminism, gay rights, or any type of equality, it won't matter in the least. Because if we don't all work together to save the environment, we will be equally extinct. Sorry.
State of our world. And again, we were saying that George is a little more political than us, but it doesn't matter. It's not gay rights or anybody. It's we have to unify now because the state of the world is in a mess, and all of the things that make us get up in the morning have to be put secondary to Earth. Don't you agree? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess a social permaculture. Do you want to explain that just a little bit more, what you see social permaculture as?
Absolutely. So when we talk about permaculture, normally we're looking at the way that Earth naturally does things, and we're emulating that because Earth is the greatest teacher. And so in a social setting, it's taking a look at how people come together in community to make change. So how does that naturally happen? How do we connect, and why do we need to connect? And what happens when people that are like-minded come together and empower one another, and what kind of change can we make? So it's taking a look at that. And so the heart of all the work that I do is about inviting community to come together, to recognize that we are not alone in this journey, and that we are so much more powerful when we join forces.
Yeah.
And when we unify with a single focus. And so that's it in a nutshell.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. It makes sense. And what do you think about the state of our world right now as far as, again, what we can do? What revolutionary tip can you tell our listeners today?
Well, first of all, the state of our world it's pretty intense. You know, we have some choices to make, every one of us, because it really comes down to each one of us. And what we see when we look around, we see a lot of devastation. You know, we see toxic seas and skies. And
how do we not get so depressed we just want to shoot ourselves? How do we just want to not turn on the TV and avoid it? How do we stay hopeful?
Yeah. So when we take all of that in, because we do need to take it in, you know, because I think one of the major issues of our world today is the numbing out and running away.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And that's committing suicide as well. Like, that's just contributing to it all. If we're not taking part of the solution, then we are contributing to the problem, you know. So taking all of it in, feeling it really deeply, listening to the sound of the earth crying, right? So taking it in, feeling it, and then transforming that into something positive, powerful, productive, to make change, joining forces, you know, to do that in a powerful way. And I think that that's fundamentally what we need to do. Because like a major thing is we're in the midst of a massive extinction not seen in 65 million years since the dinosaurs went extinct.
Right.
We don't hear that on news every day.
Talking about the bees?
Talking about all kinds of species.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're talking about African elephants. We're talking about sharks in the oceans. We're talking about, can you imagine like looking out in the savannah and not seeing an elephant?
Yeah.
Like these animals are going extinct forever. That means forever, unless we make a change. Because as the human population artificially exceeds its carrying capacity and we grow bigger and bigger and bigger, we are displacing other animals. And habitat loss is one of the main issues surrounding extinction. You know, we look at our Florida panther right here in Florida. So one of the things that I think one of the most powerful things we can do is to, first of all, like I just said, to feel it.
Right.
You know, to take some time to educate ourselves and to really feel what's happening, because what's happening in our external world is also happening in our internal world. These things are connected. You know, when we're going through depression and anxiety and fears and all this stuff that's happening, it's not in a bubble. You know, imagine like whatever's whatever devastation, whatever you see, whatever, news you're taking in, whatever food you're eating, if the world is toxic, well, our bodies become toxic. Cancer's on the rise, obesity's on the rise, where all these things are happening. The information that we take in, the water we take in, the food we take in, the air we breathe, the electromagnetic frequencies, all the things that we're being bombarded with affect us. So we have to take a look at that. We have to feel emotionally and psychologically what's going on inside of us. And then we need to take some steps to shift that. And as we were talking about earlier in the show, the first step, in my opinion, is to rewild ourselves.
To
Rewild.
rewild.
Like
Rewild.
Rewild, and that's spend some time in nature,
Yeah,
play,
good.
feel it, touch the earth. What do we tend to call it? Dirt. Right?
That's
But when
only
something's
when it's
dirty,
dead.
what do we want to do? We want to wash our hands and
Yeah.
run away from it.
That drives
No
me
way.
crazy with
It's
my
earth.
gardens.
We're earthy.
Yeah,
put
it's-
soil all over your hands and you're earthy.
Yes.
I have a
Rewild the system.
Rewild.
Yeah.
I have a
love that.
16-month-old son.
I'm starting. I didn't shave today, so
There you go. It's rewild.
I start for the weekend.
Georgia of the jungle.
That's right.
But I have a 16-month-old son, and my husband and I are like, listen, when he is playing in the earth, he is
Yeah.
earthy. So when he comes in, his hands are covered in earth. Well, it's okay. Might wash your hands. We're washing off the earth, but it's earth. It's something positive. When he touches something that's dirty, that's something like, okay, we really want to wash our hands. Like that's something else other than soil. And I think we really need to watch how we use our language because
How
it
we see
psychologically
it.
affects us.
Yeah.
So these are some places to begin, like watching how we speak and
It's
taking time
actually
to be
so
with
healthy
earth.
to be in the soil. I mean,
So
gardeners,
healthy.
I'm happy. Everyone thinks like I'm always like so happy. It's because I'm in the soil so much and there's all these wonderful microbes that get into my system that actually create happiness
That we
on a
need.
cellular level.
We need.
Well, then, Val, let me ask you a favor. That's great, but again, I can hear my sister going, well, I'm stuck in my car. I'm not going to be in the soil today. So what do I do? What if we do a visualization for those people that would love to connect to Mother Nature and Earth? And they can do this anywhere, even if they're stuck in a concrete block, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Can I let you have it?
You can turn it over to me,
All
Catherine.
right. So everyone, take a deep breath. For people that do meditate, you can take it to the next level, but use this to reconnect. If you don't have a green plant or you don't have a chance to get outside, just breathe this in.
And this is really honoring the power of our imagination and allowing that to connect us on deep, deep levels. So just taking a breath, just begin with the breath. Inhale. And slowly exhale. And now imagine that you are in a lush green forest. Your bare feet are on the earth, and you can feel the warmth of the soil and the grass beneath your feet, the softness of the earth holding you, grounding you, holding you unconditionally. And as you stand here, taking in this moment, you notice a seedling coming up out of the earth. And you watch the seedling grow tall, long, and wide until there's a tree trunk in front of you. Notice the branches twisting up toward the sun, the leaves opening themselves for that sunlight, forming a canopy over you. You can feel the roots strong and deep tunneling under your feet. And as you gaze up, you notice the light, the shadows dancing on the leaves. Feel the warmth of the sun. You can smell the earth. You take one step closer and place your palms open onto the trunk of the tree, feeling the rough grooves, the texture of the bark. This tree is exhaling pure oxygen. Take a deep breath, breathing in this tree's breath. Inhale, allowing all of that oxygen to fill your lungs and every cell in your body, feeling energized and alive. And as you slowly exhale, you become aware that your breath is life for nature. That carbon dioxide, that tree is breathing in your breath. It's as if you are being breathed by this tree. Breathing in that tree's breath, and breathing out, being breathed by this tree. Breathing in, breathing out, in perfect harmony and balance. Recognizing the depth of this interdependence. Each life form dependent on the other for its very breath. How profoundly connected we are. How thankful we can be for this tree, for all green ones. Just feeling that exchange, that dance of life. And now you see the tree coming smaller and smaller, coming back into a seedling and finally disappearing into the earth. And as it does, you feel the essence of that seed within you, right in your core. And that seed is there to remind you that in every moment and with every breath, we are profoundly interconnected and interdependent with life. And allow that knowing to inspire us, to empower us into taking care of all beings on earth. Because as we care for them, we ultimately also care for ourselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Namaste. I just want to go hug a tree.
That's what I was just thinking.
I was in North
about.
Carolina.
That reminds me of activism, sacred activism.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's that was beautiful. And
Yeah.
I think, when we put our green colored glasses on and we know that we are the trees and they are us, and they're not just there to be used and abused, and we see ourselves in that deep connection, it becomes sacred. And we can all be consumers switching to environmental activists by just doing that visualization. And I want to thank you so much, Val, for coming. Will you come back? Will you please
Absolutely.
come back and
My
tell
pleasure.
us more about this to SoFlo Radio and Catherine B. So I want to thank you guys again. This was really amazing.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
What a great addition to
Thank
the
you.
lineup. Every week.
Every week, Friday nights, 5 to 6. And I just want to dedicate the show to Tina Doran. She was a woman that I met who said, "Why are there no seeds in my watermelon?" And it got me thinking. And my mother. I'll explain that more later, but love you, Tina. And stay tuned at SoFlo Radio for Jack Frost. He comes on at 8 p.m. with
This is
the spot. Jack's
Yeah.
amazing. He's super cool. I hope he gets on the
He's a
show.
very
again.
handsome man.
Val, thanks again. Wonderful. And
Thank you,
everyone,
Catherine.
stay tuned for next week. Bye.